What is going on, everybody? Welcome to NBA Crunch Time here on a nice Saturday, the day before NFL conference finals. I am Britt Devine here with my man TJ. TJ, we've got some, a little bit of breaking news. We got Houston to break down, a couple injuries we might want to plan for. Looks like a fun slate. Normally, we've been having these 4 or 5 game slates with playoff football, but with no playoffs today, NBA ramped it up, and we got a nice big slate today.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit off screen. I've been playing on multiple sites lately, and I'm reinvigorated in my DFS journey. I've been winning a bunch of money on Underdog, winning some money on DraftKings, playing 20 lineups on DK tonight, 1 main lineup on Fanduel. I'm excited. We got a fun NBA slate, followed by football back tomorrow with the conference championship games.
Yeah, let's start with, I don't know, I'm going to refresh our projections and see if it's coming. I don't know if the team has gotten the Houston news baked in with Sengun out. It's the tankathon game, right? We're all playing for the number 1 pick here. We need ping pong balls. So we've got Houston and Detroit. Sengun has been ruled out. It doesn't look like the projections have been changed yet. So let's go over what we expect out of Houston. What is the starting lineup? Does Fernando basically just jump right in there for Sengun into the starting lineup? Is he in play? And who else from Houston is going to get a bump? Because Sengun has just been tearing it up in these recent games with all of their other injuries. And there's just so much usage, so much to go around today. Everybody's cheap. Are these guys
Rockets
ultra?
Will start Knicks, Gordon, Kenyon Martin Jr., Eason, and Jabari Smith.
All right, so it's not Fernando.
Which means time to do a little bit of adjusting in my lineups. I was like, haha, I planned for the Sengun news. As soon as he got ruled out, I took him right out of my lineup. But I also threw in some about 40% Bruno Fernando, so it looks like I'm gonna have to take that out now.
Yeah, Fernando's out. So let's go over what we expect. I'm just trying to bring the tweet up here in front of me so I can go back and find it. So Knicks, Gordon, Martin, Eason, Jabari Smith. Let's kind of rank who we want to play out of those guys right now. I'm very interested in Eric Gordon on both sites. You bring up the usage, out this season. He's averaging 13 plus fantasy points per 36 minutes more with these guys off the court this year. It is a reasonable sample size of 193 minutes. I know you think he might be playing a little bit of point guard today. If Knicks isn't really able to handle it too much, he'll be doing some more ball handling. You can see that. Also, his assists, basically everything across the board goes up for him. So I'm reasonably high on him. Eason looks like he gets a nice bump. There's just a lot, Knicks is super cheap, but he hasn't really done much when he's been out there, so I'm not too high on him. If Smith is going to get a lot of minutes, he's always a reasonably good fantasy point per minute producer. Lots to go over here. How are you going to handle this?
I'm getting a lot of Rockets into my lineups today. I'm getting the way I'm kind of going to prioritize it is like tier 1 is Terry Eason and Eric Gordon. Tier 2 is KJ Martin. Tier 3 is Jabari Smith and Deshaun Nix. And then if I'm running a ton of lineups, maybe I'll take the odd shot on Jayshawn Tate or Bruno Fernando. But for the most part, I'm focusing on these starting 5, and it's Terry Eason and Eric Gordon is my number 1 priority. KJ Martin, Jabari Smith is my number 2 priority, as well as Deshaun Nix, kind of in that.
All right. So we got that out of the way real quick. We'll get back to some lineups in just a second here for cash games and tournaments. I want to go over a couple injury bugs that we still might see. I know in Minnesota, we're waiting on Rudy Gobert. He's on a back-to-back. He's had like this, I think it's a groin injury for a little bit. Are we expecting him to play, expecting him not to play? It's an 8 o'clock game. I was hoping we would get news basically right when the show started. I haven't seen anything come across yet. How are you handling Rudy Gobert? Because if he's out, we're going to want to play Naz Reid. If he's in, we're probably, I don't know. Gobert is not a cash game play, even though he is reasonably cheap. I think he's more of a tournament option. Do you have any stance on Rudy Gobert?
I'm taking a soft stand here. I'm building 20 lineups over on DK. I'm building 1 lineup over on FanDuel. I don't have any Rudy Gobert whatsoever. And then I'm trying to just get Naz Reid in a few lineups. And then if we get the confirmation and I'm able to build around it, then I'll put him in my main lineup as well. But as it stands right now, I'm just getting like 15% Naz Reid, kind of hoping that that Gobert doesn't play. And so I still have some ability to get more of him, but I have at least a bare minimum on a few teams just in case.
The problem is that Houston game that's leading the slate, and it's going to be pretty hard to get, you're going to be using up several roster spots with a couple of the Houston guys, I think, in most lineups now. So it's just going to eat away at some of your swap possibilities. So I just want to bring that to attention. If we don't have any news on Rudy Gobert, I'm not going to try to play Naz Reid and forego any sort of value from that Houston game. If it's going to swap with anything, I'm going to take the known quantity over what I don't know with Rudy Gobert. We're also waiting on Portland. Oh, I'm trying to edit things with my master superpowers here on RotoGrinders. Portland, 10 o'clock game. Very, very tough for me on a night like tonight where we've got the Mavericks at 9. We've got this Houston game now. We might have Rudy Gobert news. There's other plays we want to play. To sit on my hands and wait to see if Nurkic and Hart end up playing. I don't know. How are you going to approach this? It's really hard now with all this value we have in Houston for me to forego anyone in that game to set myself up to be able to swap to a Drew Eubanks or something like that a little bit later in the night.
Yeah, like I think you need at least 2 Houston players in every single lineup you have today. But if you're running cash games, like it's bare minimum 3, probably at least 4.
Yeah, that's sort of my take right now. So let's jump over. Speaking of cash games, let's see the team that was probably waiting on the starting lineups. We'll see if projections have changed. If anyone does see any news on Rudy Gobert, please let me know, or the Portland game. Or, it does look like projections have come in here. So let's see what we've got in Houston. I don't know if everyone has been – it looks like everyone's been adjusted. Do you agree with these? It looks – maybe they look a little low. Maybe everyone hasn't been adjusted yet. What do you think on this?
So, as it stands right now, my, personal projection I've thrown in just, manually threw in to make sure I got a ton of these guys. I got – let's see here. Sorry, I just got to flip back to Houston. I got Terry Eason and Eric Gordon each projected for 35 points. I got Jabari Smith for 33, KJ Martin for 33, and Deshaun Nix for 23.
Yeah, I think they were trying to make a starting lineup, and then they had to go switch it back up. So if you're looking at the projections, I would imagine they're going to change again in the next couple of minutes. So right on FanDuel, let's go to them. From the Houston, I'm Eric Gordon. I'm going to try to find a way to get Eric Gordon in there tonight. I'm going to try. I like your Terry Eason play. He's 5,100. I think that's also a reasonably good play. The other guys you were probably going to kick out was do you like these guys more than Dorian Finney-Smith tonight?
Yeah, I do. I'm not a big Dorian Finney-Smith guy in general, so I'm definitely on the Houston train today.
Yeah, I think I would probably make that trade too. You might miss out on Kuzma. You could play Kuzma at the small forward, but those are probably the 2 Houston guys I'm definitely going to look at. And Martin is also pretty interesting. It's just there's a lot of Dallas value too, like Tim Hardaway Jr. Let's go over the guys I'm definitely going to play. Hardaway Jr. I'm going to try to play Dinwiddie. I'm going to try to play Eric Gordon. And I'm probably going to play, I think Dwight Powell probably is another guy who I'm going to end up trying to get in there. Of the big men, do you prefer Powell or a Martin or a Jabari Smith tonight?
On FanDuel, it's definitely the Houston guys. Yeah, sorry, I forgot. We're going site specific here. So on FanDuel, it's definitely still the Houston ones where they're all so closely priced together. I would way rather take these Houston players as opposed to Dwight Powell. On DraftKings, where he's priced down, it's a bit of a different story.
All right, so I'm just going to lock in a couple of guys I'm certainly going to play, and you can mess around with their positions on FanDuel. I'm playing Dinwiddie. I'm also playing Chris Paul. I think with all the value tonight, those are 2 guys you definitely want to end up paying for. They're not super high, but we don't have any elite superstar players really. There is I don't know. There's a couple, but they're not really in the greatest spots tonight. So Dinwiddie, Gordon, Hardaway, And I think Chris Paul is almost a must play with how good he's playing right now. Those are a couple of my building blocks on FanDuel. At the small forward position, you can mix and match. You can take a couple more of the Houston guys. I think they're fine. Going to power forward, real quick, you've got Powell. You've got either of the Houston guys. I think you could probably try to squeeze in a Martin, somebody like that, Kenyon Martin or Jabari Smith. I think both of those are fine. I still like Powell, and if you have to play Powell and only play one of the Houston guys, I think that's also okay. I think Powell's price point at $4,900 does allow you to maybe do one or two extra things with the lineup on FanDuel today. The center, Sengun, I was definitely playing Sengun. So you basically, in my opinion, center's a spot you're going to want to spend up today. So you can play Powell at center if you have to. You can also play him at power forward. But I'm really trying to get in a Sabonis or a Siakam if I can make that work. And if I can't, your consolation, you got two consolation prizes. You got Vucevic against Orlando. Then you've got Ayton against San Antonio. Those are probably where I'm going. I'm looking to spend up on the center spot on FanDuel if my center isn't one of the Houston guys or Powell. I really, at some point, you can't just make a whole lineup full of $5,500 guys. You got to spend your money. And I think center is one of those spots to do it. So that's a real quick FanDuel rundown. I'll talk about DraftKings in just a minute here. But TJ, let's talk maybe overall tournament strategy, because literally everybody's going to have Houston and Dallas, right? With one or two players different from those teams, and then one different player from like the elite value or the elite salary players, right? Let's try to figure out which player. Let's start with Houston. It's the first game. Which one or two of these is the guy you have to have, and which one or two of these might be the one that's most likely to fail? Because they're all just going to draw enormous ownership tonight.
It's a tough game to play, but honestly, I think Terry Eason and Eric Gordon are the must plays. If I'm going to fade one, it's going to be Jabari Smith or Deshaun Nix. Kenyon Martin would be the next one I'd want to get in there. From a Dallas perspective, I think the player I'm most excited to fade tonight is Tim Hardaway Jr., going to pick up a ton of ownership. I don't honestly think he's that great of a play. When we didn't have any value, he was. But this is still going to be the Spencer Dinwiddie show today. And so am I expecting Tim Hardaway Jr. to score 25 to 30 fantasy points? Yeah, absolutely I am. But I think he's got a low floor, and I think if he puts up low 30s, that's not going to kill you either. So Hardaway Jr. is going to be the one I'm going to fade today. My core is Gordon, Eason, Martin, Spencer Dinwiddie, and then I want to make sure I'm playing two of Fred VanVleet, Chris Paul, Damian Lillard in tournaments. Those are my favorite things to do in tournaments. I love to get in some of these Raptor bigs in tournaments, Precious Achiuwa, Chris Boucher, the Washington bigs like Kyle Kuzma and Daniel Gafford I don't mind getting to today. And then Zach LaVine's got a nice cheap price tag too. So I still want to prioritize a lot of these Houston players and a lot of these Dallas players. There's just a couple I'm going to leave off. I don't mind the idea of going to somebody like Josh Green for some salary savings, going to the Sacramento and Minnesota game for tournaments, some De'Aaron Fox, some Domantas Sabonis. I don't think Gobert's going to play. And so I do think taking a shot on going Naz Reid at that center position and then finding a different pivot if he happens to not be starting, I think that's one of the best things you can do in tournaments today.
Yeah, I'm scouring Twitter right now. Still have no news on Rudy Gobert. Hopefully we get it, but if it's not out now, it might not come out until that right at 7 o'clock when lineup lock comes in. So it's going to be a guessing game. I want to go over to DraftKings really quick. A couple players I'm definitely playing over there for cash. It's definitely going to be Eric Gordon. He's $4,500. And Chris Paul and Spencer Dinwiddie, they're both cheaper on DraftKings than they are on FanDuel. And I'm definitely going to be paying for those two specific guys at the guard spots. So those would be basically the three must-haves that I'm going to be playing over on DraftKings. You can mix and match a couple of the other Houston players. So you've got, let me just bring it up on site for all of you guys here. So we've got KJ Martin's 5,200. Terry Eason's 4,600. You're probably going to want to play Eason over on DraftKings at 4,600. That's a reasonably nice discount compared to some of the other players. I was looking at Fernando, but I still don't see the projections. I think there's another projections update coming because I don't believe these minutes are correct from what I expect. Oh, it looks like the projection just came through. So let me refresh this, and we'll get the latest projections from the hardworking projection team behind the scenes. And let's see, TJ. Let's try to analyze this right live on here. It looks like, all right, so it looks like this has been adjusted a little bit. So Eason's coming in 26 minutes, but 30 fantasy points. Eric Gordon, 30 minutes, 31 fantasy points. Martin, 32 minutes. So we're really not projecting a ton of minutes for anybody. Nick's is way down here. I know he's 3K, but he hasn't really done too much. He's on the outside looking in for me tonight. I like Gordon. I like Eason. Looks like the projection team likes Jabari Smith over KJ Martin. So Gordon and Eason definitely are the two Houston players I'm most interested on DraftKings. You pair that with Paul. You pair that with Dinwiddie. You can forgo Tim Hardaway if you want to, if it makes sort of your life a little easier trying to fit in a couple more of these value plays. A Martin and a Jabari Smith are a little bit cheaper than Hardaway. It's a different position, but actually, no, KJ Martin is the same. But, pick those Dinwiddie, Paul, Eason, Gordon, mix in another spend, mix in a couple of the other Houston value plays, and I think you're on your way to a pretty solid DraftKings cash team. And I think, TJ, there's enough variety out there where, I know some nights when we have all this value, we all say we hold hands across the line. I think it's going to be reasonably wide open out there. Guys like Eason and I think Gordon and Dinwiddie, these guys are going to get a lot of ownership. But outside of that, I do think it is going to be reasonably spread out because Houston just there's 7 different guys on Houston tonight that could legitimately be a GPP winning play. I think if, in terms of minutes, it's a tankathon game. You can't rule anything out in these types of games and what both of these teams are going to do. So it's a little more wide open than I think it normally is because I just think Houston, it's a little bit of a wild card what they're going to end up doing tonight.
Yeah, I'm with you. And another person you can throw onto that list of great plays in that first game is Alec Burks, who is confirmed in the starting lineup now. That just came in. So he's another great play I think you can roll with today. This is just a crazy, crazy slate.
Yeah, it got a lot of value very, very quickly in this one. I want to switch to tournament talk of players not on Houston, not on Dallas, right? So players you expect to have reasonable performances that really aren't going to be looked at tonight, right? Like if we're all playing Houston, do we run it back with anyone from Detroit? If we're all playing Dallas, do we run it back with a Markkanen or someone because these guys are just going to be completely unowned with how rosters are going to be made tonight. So no Dallas, no Houston. What else is standing out to you?
So the biggest standout team to me is going to be Toronto. No OG Anunoby. I love Fred VanVleet. Pascal Siakam and Scotty Barnes are great tournament plays. But after VanVleet, my next favorite place to go is their bigs, Chris Boucher and Precious Achiuwa. I think this Chicago team has a little bit of upside with guys like DeRozan, Levine, Vucevic. But for the most part, I'm focusing on the Sacramento-Minnesota game, the Dallas-Utah game, and Chris Paul. That's kind of my main focus. And the Toronto and Portland game. Some individual plays that I really like today. Damian Lillard. The starting center for Minnesota, if it's not Rudy Gobert, whether that be Naz Reid or Nathan Knight. I think it's going to be Naz Reid. And so that he'd be my top play there. I like Daniel Gafford and Kyle Kuzma for Washington today. And that's basically it. I'm finding a couple guys who are going to be big chalk, like Tim Hardaway Jr. and Knicks that I'm looking to and maybe even Jabari Smith in my main lineup that I'm looking to go without today. And then I'm just going to be mixing in 1 or 2 pieces with the chalk today. We also got almost 300 people watching on YouTube right now, so make sure you hit that like button for us.
Yeah, that's quite a bit of people. Happy everyone can tune in today. We will have some questions if you want to answer them in the YouTube chat or in the Discord for all the premium members. With so much going on, I think I'm going to jump right to questions. I'm going to assume we're going to have a bunch in crunch time right now. Prodigy wants to know, FanDuel single entry, Sabonis or Siakam? I think most people would choose Sabonis, but Siakam's been on quite a tear here. And without OG Anunoby, Siakam's probably going to have half the ownership of Sabonis.
Yeah, I honestly really like both of them today. If I don't have another Raptor in my lineup, I would go with Siakam because I do like getting some Raptors exposure. But if I already have somebody like Fred VanVleet in my lineup, then I'd want to go with Sabonis.
Yeah, I like VanVleet. You can Scotty Barnes. I like Siakam too. I think any of those. Precious Achua, he can sneak in there too. I think he's going to be reasonably popular. But I definitely like the Toronto players. Aside wants to know Jalen Duran and FanDuel cash. So I was looking at it. I do not. So Duran he's like, I don't know. Not someone I'm targeting. Would you rather play Duran at 6,500, against Houston? Houston's front court's pretty weak today. Or would you try to spend up into the Vucevic, Sabonis, Siakam tier? That's sort of where I'm going.
Yeah, definitely that above tier. If I'm sticking someone in the mid tier, I'm taking a shot on Naz Reid, assuming that Gobert doesn't play.
Yeah, I guess my problem is we don't have the Luka, the Embiid, the Jokic, the Tatum without Jaylen Brown, right? And Tatum's priced up. So everyone that you would maybe want to save a little bit with Duran, you just don't have that ultra superstar player. And we have all this value. So center just ends up being a spot. I'm spending some money on the Vucevic, Sabonis sort of the tier than going with Duran. I guess Duran's not the worst thing in the world, but not what I'm doing personally tonight. That wraps up the Discord questions. Again, if you have any questions, you're a premium member, get in Discord. I will go to those. If Nurkic is out, is Eubanks a lock for me? This is from AO. And sure, but this is a 10 o'clock game. When are we going to have this news? The 8 o'clock games, maybe.
I mean, you can pivot off of a guy like Precious Achua. You can pivot on FanDuel. It's actually really easy because Eubanks has power forward eligibility, and so you can make the pivot off of Precious, who's the same price, Chris Boucher, who's only $300 cheaper. So if you're playing a Raptor big, it does make for a reasonable pivot.
Let's see. Going back to YouTube, I'm just get a couple more. Eubanks in a FanDuel tournament. What are we doing? Everyone wants to take the value that's unsure of. Do you think he's interesting, or you would just do your swap with Toronto and give yourself a little bit of time?
Exactly. That's exactly it. If Eubanks starts, yeah, I think you can play him. But if he doesn't, I definitely like Achua better.
All right. Sadiq Bey in a FanDuel tournament, right? If everybody's going to be playing these Houston players, are we going to be playing any of the Detroit guys?
If I'm running somebody back with Detroit today, I think my favorite one to do so with is going to be Alec Burks.
Oh, I gotta sorry, I'm just trying to really quickly fix my DraftKings team here.
The other thing I want to say quickly too, with somebody like a Naz Reid on FanDuel today, there's lots of pivots around him you can do if you don't want to roll that way either. You can, if say Gobert's in or Naz Reid doesn't start, you can take the shot on Eubanks. And then if Eubanks doesn't start, you can pivot it down to Boucher, or you can just go right to Daniel Gafford, who's only $100 more than Naz Reid at that same spot.
All right, going back to YouTube, a couple other questions. Let's see. Do we think Olynyk starts for Utah today?
I don't know, and I don't care.
Yeah, it's a little bit trying to be too tricky on a slate like tonight. Let's see here. I don't really see any more questions. Guys, we got a lot of you watching. Please click the like button, get your questions in. We are more than happy to talk about them as we close out the show here. Aside 12 wants to know FanDuel cash, Timmy Hardaway Jr. or Burks. So you were a little down on Hardaway. Would you rather play him or Burks straight up today?
Cash Hardaway, tournament Burks.
I think that is a very reasonable take to have on that particular one. Jeps wants to know Powell and Fox or Duran and Russell. So that's D'Angelo Russell for a DraftKings tournament today.
Powell and Fox, or who and Russell, sorry?
We've got Russell and Duran.
Powell and Fox or Russell and Duran? Powell and Fox. No, Russell and Duran.
I like Russell quite a bit, and Duran. I think more of a tournament play. I think the Duran one
And
maybe
a DraftKings play.
Let's see here. Gordon. Let's see here. I'm just scrolling through Discord. We've got Fanduel from DeBoss, a Fanduel tournament. Josh Green, very low owned today. Are we playing any Josh Green, or is that getting just a little bit too cute, even though he is cheap value today?
Nope, I'm all good with the Josh Green play today.
All good in yes or all good in no?
All good, yes.
Oh, all right. I didn't know if there was a sarcastic tone to that one.
No, I'm getting to some Josh Green. More so on DraftKings, but I'm getting to a little Josh Green.
All right. Boban, viable. So I was thinking Boban, but Boban, without Fernando starting, there's definitely I'm not going to be playing any Boban tonight.
Could be Boban, could be Fernando, could be Garuba, could be none of them because they have two guys in their starting lineup who could play the 5. So no.
All right. Highest scoring player on the slate, fantasy points tonight. Who's it going to be?
Dinwiddie.
You think Dinwiddie is going to be the highest scoring fantasy player overall tonight?
Yes.
Oh man, that's he is. I mean, he definitely has the ability to it, but he has stunk a couple, maybe not a couple of times, but definitely once, if not twice, when Luke has been out this year. You think he's
gonna have 34 points, 11 rebounds, 12 assists, a steal, and 5 turnovers.
I like the go get his assist line if it's 6.5 or even 7.5. I think is a fine play to make if you were looking for a bet to take. I would take that over the points, even though I'll probably get there on points. I always like his assist line when Luke is out. He really seems to crank those out quite a bit. Oh yeah, someone said, oh yeah, you did say Dinwiddie on there. Let's see, none on YouTube. Any more questions? 4 Rockets, FanDuel cash. Probably a little too cute. I am definitely on the Eason and Gordon on my FanDuel cash team. I just put those in. I did not get to any of the other guys on FanDuel on my cash team personally. Martin and Jabari Smith were basically just a few dollars too expensive for me to get in there, and I ended up using Dwight Powell instead. It allowed me to get the other guys in my lineup that I wanted to. So for me personally, I'm staring at just Gordon and Eason on my FanDuel team. Would you try to force in either Martin or Smith, TJ?
My current FanDuel main lineup has Gordon, Martin, Eason, and Smith, and my current DraftKings main lineup has Gordon and Eason as the only 2, actually.
So I think you've got it backwards for me. I've got more Rockets on DraftKings than I do on FanDuel. I just ended up, I wanted to get Sabonis. I mean, I like my FanDuel lineup has everybody I basically talked about now with getting Eason and Gordon.
Like, FanDuel does such a good job of pricing people up quickly, but they obviously couldn't do that for this situation. So the Houston value on FanDuel is just so good, whereas DraftKings, it is on DraftKings as well, but there's also other value on DraftKings.
Let's see here. A couple people. Tatum will be the highest scoring player. Tatum's going to have no ownership tonight. And I agree. He could be the highest scorer. They're without Robert Williams. He's going to be all over the boards. They're without Marcus Smart. He's going to handle the ball more, and he's going to score 30-plus points. So Tatum is a very nice – I mean, he's expensive, and he's a great player. But that is a low-owned play. We had him projected, let's see here, on FanDuel at 10%, on DraftKings at let's see here. I got something in the search bar at – I mean, he's not even coming up here on the first page. So he's got to be reasonably low-owned at 11%. So he's certainly someone. He costs a lot. You can make it work if you're playing the really low-end Dallas and Houston value, and maybe those guys come through to get a Tatum. You can get to Tatum either way, but that is a nice play for the highest scoring player of the night for sure. And if he's going to be 10% owned, again, a great ownership play for tournaments. Achilles wanted to know Gordon or Achua for DraftKings cash. That is definitely Eric Gordon for me if I had to choose. And the answer I currently have is both in my DraftKings lineup.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Same page.
Let's see here. No more in Discord. Going to go back to YouTube. Don't really see too many questions we didn't get to. I know I always like to talk sports bets. I didn't get too many in. I was been very busy throughout the day today, so I focused a little bit more on DFS than the sports betting. So I don't really have any sports bets for you. I did have Sengun. When I woke up this morning, I bet his over points, rebounds, assists. So that's going to get voided. I wish I would have bet anybody else in the Rockets. It probably would have worked out a little bit better for me, but that was a bet I did make. Let me just think real quick off the top of my head. Pelicans, Washington, Sacramento, no, Spurs. Oh, Chris Paul. I think the scores and odds team was, if his PRA line is still at 30.5, I know they like the over on that, and I did go along with them on that one. I think I took Dinwiddie assists, and I think I took Siakam over PRA too, now that did pop into my head too. So those are a couple sports bets I had. Don't see any more questions in the Discord. Don't see any more questions in the YouTube. Someone wants to know, Anthony Davis in a FanDuel tournament. Not for me. Could you go to AD? I'd be probably more apt to play LeBron than AD. I just don't, we've got him projected for 28 minutes. And sure, he can get there. Sure, he could play more if he's feeling good. They're going to be very cautious with him. I don't really see him playing much more than 28 minutes we have projected. Price is high. Not really a guy I'm interested in tonight, TJ.
No, even in 150 lineups, I wouldn't play him.
Yeah, I would definitely echo that one. All right, I think that's about it. Just scrolling back through YouTube. You want any of the football shows or basketball shows tomorrow, TJ, with me?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I thought you needed a sub or something like that, and I am you tomorrow.
I was letting you talk yourself up here, TJ, is what I was doing. I'm on the basketball show. I can't make the football one.
Okay, yeah. So I'm on a bunch of shows tomorrow. I think I'm on both football shows tomorrow. The pre-lock for the first game, the pre-lock for the evening game. First time with Tim, second time with STL. And I don't know. On Sundays, I always end up picking up. It seems like all the shows around. So maybe I'll end up in there for you or Will for the NBA show too.
I will be there for the NBA. How do you think tomorrow? Give me the football games tomorrow. How do you think they're going to play out? We still got a lot of people watching. Basketball's locked. The questions are over. What do you got happening for football tomorrow?
Since we still got a lot of people watching, you better take this mouse of yours over and slide it over and hit the like button for us. I think I got the Bengals over the Chiefs, as crazy as that sounds. And then I think I got the Eagles over the 49ers. So I think I got Bengals and Eagles. All
right. So I definitely got the Eagles. My bet of the week is Eagles first half, -1.5, or the money line. You can take either one of those. And I've laddered the Eagles to win by up to 14 on the sports book. So I really like the Eagles on this one. And I don't really have a take. I hope Mahomes is good. I do like the Bengals angle. If I was going to bet a team, I think it would be the Bengals, because the Chiefs, if you look at the Chiefs, what are the Chiefs are literally Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and a bunch of not really good players. So in the Bengals are actually a reasonably good football team all around. They've got good defensive players, good offensive players, and the Chiefs are very stuck on Mahomes. So I could see the Bengals beating Mahomes. They've done it 3 times already. I don't really have a take on that game personally, but if I was going to, it would be the Bengals, if that makes sense. But I really, really like the Eagles in that first half. Wrote that up on Scores and Odds. Giving you a free play from the premium side there is my absolute favorite play of the week. That's going to do it for today's show. How do you quarterback? Hey, if you want, how do you pick a quarterback if you're playing one lineup? That's tomorrow's show. That's what you're going to be tuning into TJ for all those. So you got to tune into tomorrow's show for that. Other than that, I hope everyone has a good night. TJ, I'll see. Well, actually, no, I won't see you tomorrow. Thank you for subbing for me, by the way. I just my schedule is a little too busy tomorrow. Can't make the football show.
I quit my teaching job this year. I do DFS and Agents of Fandom full time, so I'm always ready to pick up the shifts.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. Hope everyone's Houston players start going off and getting a bunch of fantasy points for everyone. Hopefully,
What
all
do you
those
think
Dallas
Eric
guys.
Gordon is owned in the main GPP on FanDuel?
So, what are we guessing? Eric Gordon's ownership and what is it? The 12 or 15?
Like the $9 50K to first.
32.
So Tari Eason is 48, which to me feels about right.
Yep.
Jabari Smith, 23, feels a little low. KJ Martin, 18, feels way low. And Eric Gordon is 16%.
No, that's I don't know. I don't know about like his usage in theory, if you believe in court IQ, is going to go bananas tonight. So if that holds true, and they could just be like, hey, yo, Gordon, sit down, right? If he gets off to a hot start, this is the tankathon game. They could just sit anybody down in this one. There's no telling the depths of NBA tanking. It's a little early in the season for the absolute depths of it, but this is definitely going to be one of those games where anything can happen, in my opinion. So we'll have to see how it plays out. Hopefully all those guys score points. Thanks to everyone for watching. We appreciate it. Thanks to Fanduel for sponsoring the show. They do a great job with the sports books. Always check the booths over there. If you're new to, I know there's new states popping up all the time. If you are a new user, FanDuel gives some really nice first-time free bet bonuses, where if you lose your first bet, you get a free bet back. Those are always great. And that's about it. TJ, it's been fun. Thanks to everybody for watching. I'm Britt, and we out you.